Welcome to the Huntsville Amp Summit 2008. There's Tom Shepard.
He sold me my first guitar when I was 16.
Owns the music store. Early 70s metal panel Marshall 50 and 100 watt heads. Iconic rock and roll amplifiers.
Who brought these in?
Scott Miller. Beautiful pieces. Sound fantastic. Those are also his mint museum quality white Fender Tremolux head and cabinet and basement to the right.
Now some of this is your stuff, right, David?
Assemblage of some of my amps, Vox AC50, Vox AC30, 2 or 3 Selmer heads.
There's a Buddha down there.
A Buddha, there's a Hayseed 30.
Now David, this is some of your JMI stuff, right?
A couple of JMI heads. Recased Vox AC30 and Fawn. All fun stuff to play through.
It all sounds good too.
Demonstrating one of these crocodile-covered Selmer treble and bass 50 head and cabs.
Now this is an interesting item here, David. Tell me about this.
This is called the tube roller. This is a patent-pending device. You'll be able to switch between 2 tubes.
To compare the sound difference?
Right. On the fly by a foot switch.
Now this looks like an old PA head.
This is a Satchel Carlson, about a 25 watt PA head that's been modded by Todd Sharps in Nashville.
From the 1950s.
Trillium amplifiers out of Indiana. Beautiful.
The woodwork on these is immaculate, David.
Beautiful handmade wood cases and all point-to-point wiring. Here's the 2 museum quality Fenders we mentioned earlier.
How old are these?
63, 64 white basement head and cab, Tremolux head and cab. Here's a Soldano SLO 100 and a Boogie.
Who's this cat playing through it? Because he was
Jonathan Shaw out of Nashville, Tennessee. He's blisteringly fast. That's his uncle to the left, Dennis Shaw. Boogie Mark II C Plus on top. Scott Miller on the right and his son Izzy on the stool. They brought the nice Marshalls and the Fender head and cabs. The Swamp Works, created by Scott Johnson. Handmade, point-to-point wired custom amplifiers. Come in many different configurations, 20, 40, 80 watts.
Is this the same Swamp Works that I was looking at before?
Right. This is
these guys right here?
Right. The heads on top of that cab are all Swamp Works creations. Custom wood casings, some of them finished, some of them just oil finished.
Now what amp sizes these come in?
Anything that the customer wants. He'll build a 20 watter, a 40 watter. I think he's built some 80s before. Meticulous quality, and they sound great.
Now look at the woodwork on them.
They're all different. All different.
Very nice, very nice. I love the name, Swamp Works.
It's got a nice website too.
Swamp Works website? Is
it
swampworks.com?
I believe so.
Well, I'll have to check that out. Who are these people right here?
It's Tom Smith holding the guitar on the right.
Is that you? David Weinstein on the left?
A vagrant off the street, I believe.
Either one. It's hard to tell. There's another shot of Tommy's store there. This is his best location yet on Governor's Drive.
This is Everett Wood of RS Custom Guitars out of Spring Hill, Tennessee, showing off some of his JMI amps. He builds beautiful clones of the Brian May Red Special guitar. All around nice guy.
That girl was playing with the nice, pretty finish on the fretboard.
Right, right.
Yeah, it was a sharp-looking guitar.
Here we are, Mark Taylor of Antioch, Tennessee. Vintage guitar and amp expert. Rock and roll wild man. Here's Barry Billings and Jessica Riggy, the daughter of deceased Huntsville guitarist Ted Riggy.
All those guitars behind it. Now, David, this is your amp here, right?
The Crocskin Selmer treble and bass 50, about a 63 year model. The handmade treble booster pedal.
Hand painted by your wife, I understand.
Right, right.
Very pretty, very, very wild looking. I like wild looking stuff, Dave.
Germanium OC44 transistor.
Now this is definitely an arc welder.
Well, you might be right, but I would bet it's a Stromberg Carlson PA head.
Ah!
Also from the 50s. 80 screaming watts.
I bet it does scream. It's from the 50s.
It does. The Trillium Imperium amplifier.
Woodwork on that.
Handmade beautiful wood casings and Class A amplifier inside. Come in many different configurations. Tim Warren was kind enough to bring those down to the amp show and demonstrate them for us.
Well, that's a beautiful example of woodworking on an amp. I tell you, I've never seen one quite as beautiful as that.
Fabulous.
Fabulous. I love everything about it. And it sounds great too.
Oh yes, yes. Hayseed 30 heads.
A Hayseed 30?
Kind of an AC 30 clone.
Now this was what I've been waiting on. I want to hear all about these three Marshalls right here.
These are some Plexi Marshalls. Belong to Huntsville guitar expert Bob Parks. On top is a 20-watt Plexi Marshall PA.
20 watts.
Underneath that is a 50-watt small box Plexi head, and underneath that is a 100-watt Plexi head. These are clean as a pin, sound fantastic. This is what the whole Plexi thing is all about. Hard to find any better examples in condition or sound than those pieces right there, Greg.
I'm here to tell you, those are some fine examples of Marshall.
Here's a couple of more Selmer treble and bass 50 heads, a very early one on top and a little bit later one underneath. They're sort of sonically halfway between a Vox and a Marshall.
What about this orange and high watt?
Orange and high watt, a couple of other esoteric English amps. These are Mark Taylor pieces.
So these are made in England, both these?
Right. The picture only orange. I think that's a 50. And the high watt is a DR103, which is the same model that David Gilmour and Pete Townsend played through back in the day. He also brought two fantastic examples of Park by Marshall amplifiers. These would be early 70s, I believe, and underneath them is another 100-watt Plexi Marshall head. Swampworks Bayou Bitch.
Now notice the instead of the treble mid bass, he's got gripe, groan, and moan. Now I personally like that.
He's very creative in his
very neat idea.
In his layout. He's very creative with that.
You have to be a smart to use it, though. You just can't be a regular guy.
Right, right.
And who can go wrong with a name like Swampworks? That's just fantastic. Fantastic name.
He will build them up any way the customer would like. One of his metal panel Marshall heads for Scott Johnson and Tom Shepard. All right, I'm David Weinstein. On behalf of myself and Greg Lime, we'd like to thank you, and we'll see you next year at the Huntsville Amp Summit.